Among the great names of medieval history, few are as recognized and admired as Saladin. The Kurdish Sultan who challenged the Christian armies during the Crusades became a legendary figure both in the Islamic world and in the West. His trajectory is marked by conquests, military strategy, and an honorable stance that impressed even his enemies. In this video, we will explore the life of Saladin, from his childhood and upbringing, through his rise as a Muslim leader and his victories over the Christian kingdoms, to his death and legacy. In particular, we will address how he managed to reconquer Jerusalem, a feat that changed the course of the Crusades. If you want to better understand not only the history of one of the greatest medieval strategists, but also the complexity of the period in which he lived, watch until the end. The 12th century was a period of intense conflicts between Christians and Muslims over control of the Holy Land. The Crusades, which began at the end of the 11th century, resulted in the occupation of Jerusalem by the Christians in 1099, with the foundation of several Latin kingdoms in the Middle East. These kingdoms were constantly threatened by Muslim states that sought to recover their territories. The Islamic world at the time was divided into various factions. The Abbasid Caliphate in Baghdad held significant religious authority, but political power was fragmented among regional dynasties. In Egypt, the Fatimids ruled with a Shia orientation, while the Zengid dynasty in northern Syria and Mesopotamia sought to unify the Muslims under its leadership. It was in this context of internal disputes and clashes with the Crusaders that Saladin emerged. His rise to power was directly linked to the need for unity among Muslims to face the Christian presence in the region. He inherited the ideals of Nur ad-Din, the Zengid ruler who preached jihad against the Frankish invaders and knew how to take advantage of political circumstances to consolidate his power and become the supreme leader of the Islamic world. Saladin, whose full name was An-Nasir Salah ad-Din Yusuf ibn Ayyub, was born in 1137 in the city of Tikrit, present-day Iraq. Son of a Kurdish military officer, he grew up surrounded by war and military strategies. At a young age, he moved with his family to Syria, where he was trained in military tactics and administration, serving under the command of Nur ad-Din, one of the main Muslim leaders. Saladin demonstrated great political and military skill, becoming a key figure in the expansion of Muslim power against the Crusaders. His great opportunity came when he was sent to Egypt in 1169 as the commander of an expedition to strengthen Zengid control in the region. With intelligence and determination, he consolidated his power, taking control of Egypt and ending the Fatimid dynasty in 1171. From that moment on, he became the undisputed leader of the Islamic world. With the unification of Egypt and Syria under his command, Saladin began to plan his greatest campaign, the reconquest of Jerusalem. He gathered a powerful army and over the following years fought several battles against the Christian kingdoms in the region. His greatest triumph occurred at the Battle of Hattin, when he defeated the Crusaders and paved the way for the retaking of the Holy City. Jerusalem fell without major massacres, a striking contrast to the brutality of the Crusaders during the conquest of the city nearly a century earlier. Saladin's fame grew among both his allies and his enemies. However, his struggle was far from over. The surviving Christian kingdoms, especially the Principality of Antioch and the County of Tripoli, continued to pose a threat. The West's response to the loss of Jerusalem was immediate and forceful. Pope Gregory VIII called for the Third Crusade, which brought together three of the most powerful Christian monarchs of the time: Richard the Lionheart of England, Philip Augustus of France, and Emperor Frederick Barbarossa of the Holy Roman Empire. The latter died on his journey, but the others advanced strongly into the Levant. Saladin's campaign against the Crusaders was marked by strategic duels with Richard the Lionheart. The English king proved to be a worthy opponent, capturing the city of Acre in 1191 and defeating Saladin at the Battle of Arsuf. However, despite the Christian victories, Richard was unable to retake Jerusalem. Later, both leaders reached an agreement. The Christians would retain control of some coastal cities, while the Muslims would remain in possession of Jerusalem, allowing Christian pilgrimages to the Holy City. Even after the Crusade, Saladin remained firmly in power, but his health began to decline. Exhausted by the long military campaigns and the burden of managing his vast empire, he fell seriously ill. In March of 1193, he passed away in Damascus. His funeral was a reflection of his generosity. Having donated almost all of his fortune to the poor, there were not even resources for a lavish tomb. Saladin left a lasting legacy. In addition to being a master of military strategy, he stood out for his justice and generosity, earning the respect of both allies and enemies. His figure remained in historical memory as the example of a virtuous ruler and a magnanimous warrior, whose influence transcended his own era. Saladin's legacy transcends his time and continues to be remembered both in the Islamic world and in the West. His leadership unified fragmented Muslim territories, his diplomacy secured lasting agreements, and his code of honor made him one of the most respected leaders in medieval history. Even his adversaries, such as Richard the Lionheart, acknowledged his fair character and exceptional military skill. Today, he remains a symbol of resistance, courage, and wisdom. His story reminds us that great leaders are measured not only by their victories on the battlefield, but also by their character and enduring legacy. And if you enjoyed this video about Saladin, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who also love history. That really helps the channel grow and bring more content like this. See you next time.